I want to bring in Paula Scanlon now, who we always appreciate having on. She's a spokeswoman for the Independent Women's Forum, and she joins us on the phone. Hello, Paula.
Hi, thank you so much for having me again today.
Of course, Paula, you've been talking about the perils of this, warning about the perils of this, and now here we are seeing it play out on one of the biggest stages in sports.
Of course. I mean, I think for us, it was just which sport is it going to be? Which athletes are going to be affected? I knew we were going to see it on the Olympic stage because the IOC has done nothing to manage this issue. I don't know how many more cases they need to see to take action, but of course it's in boxing, a very, very, very physical sport. I mean, it's heartbreaking to honestly just see it happen because we saw it coming because the IOC could not take action and change their rules.
Yes, and so now you have women in combat sports where you literally punch each other in the face. She made a decision. This is an Olympic boxer, so it's not like she hasn't been hit before. Her whole career has led up to this moment. And she's saying that the punches she was sustaining today were unlike anything she had ever encountered. And meanwhile, people in her home country of Italy had been warning her, do not go to this fight. Don't dignify it. You're gonna be put at risk. And she assessed that pretty quickly in this fight, Paula.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure if this is true, but I thought I read a report that her coach might have said her nose is already broken from this. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And honestly, I mean, I think boycotting would have been the better option here for her, of course. But I understand it's the Olympics. You worked your entire life to get there. I mean, the Olympics is the most important sporting event in the entire world. And again, because of failed leadership in the IOC has essentially allowed any governing body to do whatever it is that they want. And when the IOC made a statement on this, they said, well, their passports say that these people are female. Well, guess what? Dylan Mulvaney, who we all know to be a man, was able to change his passport and say that he's a female. So that doesn't mean anything. And that does not protect athletes if we go by self-ID.
There's a defense I see mounting on the internet today, as often in these cases, you see defenses rise. One of them is that this man is intersex. In other words, yes, he's a biological male, but he was born with female, basically deformities on his body. And that's true. There are a small number of people for that. That is the reality. But if you're at the point where you're trying to make qualified defenses of this, doesn't that suggest that you know that men in women's competition is wrong?
Yes, I mean, but again, none of them ever make sense on this. I mean, most arguments I see on this on the other side of this issue they don't make sense. They change, they flip flop. None of it makes any sense. But I think in this case, the athlete was like intersex, and I believe that yes, there's a chance that they were actually quote unquote assigned female at birth, but a chromosome test that they had done previously at the World Championship revealed that this athlete has a Y chromosome. And that Y chromosome is what causes your testosterone levels to be higher. It's what causes an increase in strength and larger bones and bigger hearts and all those different athletic advantages that males have over females.
Right.
So, no matter how it happened or if they're intersex or whatever the issue might have been, they still have this Y chromosome that's going to contribute to an athletic advantage.
Definitely. And you can see it too. It's you don't have to do a chromosomal test to detect the difference. You're looking at these two boxers. One of them very clearly looks like a man in that ring because once again, he is.
Yes, and it's crazy that we're even at this point in time where we have to be defending this. I mean, I don't even understand why this is a conversation. I don't get it. I don't know why the IOC can't take action on this. I mean, the Olympics are really turning into a mockery of sports at this point with everything that happened with the opening ceremony and all these different controversies. It's just not what it used to be, and it's so sad because, again, so many athletes have worked their entire lives to get to the Olympics. I mean, so many people enjoy watching the Olympics. I know also so many young athletes watch the Olympics and they aspire to get to that level, and we're watching it just crumbling, and it's just honestly embarrassing to watch.
There's the author of the famed Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling, has been rather outspoken about this issue in the past few years, and she added her voice yet again today. She said she put on X, she posted the video of the fight today, and she said, watch this whole thread, and then explain why you're okay with a man beating a woman in public for your entertainment. This isn't sport, she says. From the bullying cheat in red, the guy's wearing red trunks and a red outfit, all the way up to the organizers who allowed this to happen. This is men reveling in their power over women. J.K. Rowling here is putting this in very feminist terms, Paula. But how is she wrong? I mean, it seems to me that she's nailing this.
Yeah, she's completely right. I mean, she's honestly always on point on this particular issue. I mean, I appreciate her outspokenness, especially with her platform, her following, just the number of people that know her name.
Yeah.
And again, that's why it's so important we all speak up on this issue. I mean, we have to talk about it. We have to raise awareness. We have to have people say, enough is enough. This is wrong, and we can't allow this to continue to happen.
I have noticed, like I mentioned, there have been some qualified defenses today of this man being in the ring with the woman, saying, well, he's intersex. It's a little more complicated than your normal transgender issue. But beyond that, I've noticed also a lot of silence, especially out of the American left, not discussing this. In fact, bypassing it entirely. I haven't heard anything from Kamala Harris's campaign today. Kamala Harris, who has said that that transgender women are women. In other words, men are women who participate in women's events. I haven't heard her denounce this at all. What does all of this silence tell you?
It's not surprising at all, but I think the silence knows. I think their silence, I mean, they had nothing to say, right? They can't defend it, so they're just going to ignore it, which they do oftentimes with many of these different events that are happening, right? Like all the news about the border. The left wants to ignore it and just pretend it's not an issue, and that's what they do in this issue. And they continue to dismiss us and say it's not really happening. It's only a few people. It's very rare. But at this point in time, I've heard of hundreds of girls who have lost their opportunities to male athletes taking over their sports. This is not something that's just happening once or twice. This is happening across age groups, across the country, across sports, and they have no response to it, so let's try to keep ignoring the issue.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. The key here, from my perspective, the IOC needs to get a hold of this in a really public and obvious and clear way and say, no, if there's any indication that you are a man at any level, like down to your chromosomes, that if you're a dude, you are not participating in women's sports. That's it. Open and shut. Because if the IOC can do that at the global level, if they can come out and say that, that has far-reaching implications for every other level of athletic competition, all the way down to kids' leagues, where some parent comes in and says, my son's going to be participating in this because my son's my daughter. It gives those leagues the ability to say, no, not even in the Olympics do they allow this. We're not allowing it here. Somebody has to stand up and have the courage to lay out how this works and make sure people are really clear on what the rules are, don't they?
Yeah, and again, like they are the leaders. Everyone looks to them, and they're not doing the right thing. And the same thing happened to me when I was swimming in college, right? The NCAA had the power over everyone, and they decided to do nothing at all. And so that's what we're seeing is the people in leadership positions that have the power to fix this and make this never happen again are choosing to be cowards and are ignoring these problems. And again, yes, if the IOC chooses to do the right thing, and they've had ample time to do it. I mean, the controversy I went through was over 2 years ago now,
yeah.
When Leah Thomas won the NCAA championship. So the evidence has been there, and they've chosen to stay quiet, to do nothing, and continue to backpedal and punt the problem to other people or just simply pretend it's not happening at all.
If they don't get a hold of this now, how long is it until you think you see a man competing against, like a Katie Ledecky, for instance, in your sport?
So, well, fortunately, the IOC's decision has been to allow each governing body to make their own decisions. And so swimming's governing body, FINA, says if you don't transition before the age of 12, that you cannot compete in world championship level events or the Olympics, right, any of those like sort of national stage events, which is great. But again, the NCAA didn't adopt any of those policies, and the IOC has not made a blanket statement agreeing with that. So it's depending what sport you play, you could have completely different rules. So the female swimmers that are at the Olympics right now, yes, there's no males that will be able to compete, but that's not the same for the boxers.
And based on what you just said, and Paula, based on what you just said, that's not going to last. If people were transitioned, quote unquote, prior to the age of 12, eventually we could see these males in athletic competition at the Olympics in the pool against women, female swimmers. So that could be here for us in the future, and here we are now. Paula, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time as always on this subject and so many others.